1, 2, 3.
Okay. Hey guys, Cabo here from Beato's blog. Today it is my great pleasure to bring you the great Tris Imboden from Chicago. Tris, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you, Ken.
First of all, I guess we have to mention 25 years.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
It's baffling to me. I can't believe it's been 25 years. I mean, it's gone by literally in a blink of an eye, you know. I mean, that's what it feels like anyway. God, I mean, I to have been asked to join the band, I mean, and even to have played with the band at all, you know, for a year would have been, you know, wonderful. I would have been totally stoked. At 25 years now, it's really hard to believe.
You know, as I was thinking about this for 25 years, tell us what it was like the first time you sat down behind your drum kit and realized, I'm in Chicago.
Well, I wasn't playing with Chicago. I was playing with Kenny Loggins. When
it happened, though, what was your feeling when it happened?
No, I was in the city of Chicago. No, I know what you were asking. Man, if I can tell this story briefly, I got a phone call from Bill Champlin, whom caught me in 1989 or 1990. I hadn't spoken with him in years. And he said, "What are you doing this summer?" I said, "Funny you should ask. Nothing for the first summer in years." And anyway, I had just come back from Europe with Al Jarreau. I'd been out with Kenny Loggins for months. I'd been on the road for virtually a year and a half, and I was facing the summer with nothing to do. And he said, "Well, how would you like to play with the band?" And I went, "Are you kidding me? Man, I would get my left you-know-what, you know." And he said, "Well, man, if you want it, you know." And next thing I know, Jason Sheff's at my house with a cassette tape of the show for me to learn the show. I was on my way to Peru, actually, to do a video with a Peruvian artist. I was married to a Peruvian woman at that point. And it was the most surrealistic thing in the world, Ken, because here I am on this airplane going to Lima, Peru, hearing Chicago going, "I got to learn this stuff. I love this band. Are you kidding me? I'm going to play this music, you know?" And man, when I got back from Peru and sat down and played, I mean, it just fit like a glove. I mean, I was pinching myself, first of all, as I look over, and to my left, there's Robert Lamb, there's Jimmy Pankow, there's Lee Loughnane, there's Walt Perizzator, Bill Champlin, Jason, everybody, and I couldn't believe it, man, that it was happening, and that it felt so good.
Now, Tris, you were already an accomplished player when you joined the band.
Mm-hmm.
So when you approached being an accomplished player, when you approached songs like 25 or 6 to 4 and some of the classics, was it your mindset to say, okay, I'm going to learn this like the record, or did you have some license to give it some of Tris feel right off the bat?
Well, that's a great question. Actually, I fully intended to be as true to the records and to what I'd heard Danny do live as I could. But inevitably, you can't help but infuse some of yourself in it. So I tried to do that at the initial rehearsals, and all the guys in the band said, "Hey, you know, don't feel like you have to play what Danny did. You know, make it your own." And so I kind of did, but kind of half-heartedly, try to put some of my inflection in. It just didn't sound quite right. So I sort of, and particularly as years went on, I went more and more back to what I know Danny had played. And to this day, there's certain things that are just like a thumbprint, you know, and I think as important as the horn charts, you know, certain fills, you know, like the end of the ballet or Make Me Smile, you know, what Danny did there. God, if you do anything other than that, it's just wrong. So I stayed kind of close to what Danny.
So even after 25 years, you haven't felt as if these are my songs, I have more license?
Well, they've made me feel like I have the freedom, but I have taken that freedom, tried it out, and gone, yeah, it's fun to do, but, you know, it doesn't quite sound right to me because I was a fan for so long before I was the drummer, you know. So I end up going back kind of to a lot of the Danny-isms, if you will.
Now, in Chicago, you're covering first of all, the band's been together, I believe, 47 years.
Well, 48 in February.
48 in February.
Uh-huh.
So you're covering a lot of musicians, a lot of different fields, and you talked about this before as a drummer, a lot of different sounds.
Uh-huh.
How do you approach that?
Well, first of all, I use a larger kit than I might otherwise, just tom-tom-wise and all, because gratefully the band's hits have spanned so many decades that styles of drum sets and that changed all through that period, and likewise Danny's sounds changed too. So to reproduce the older material that I didn't record, I need a larger kit. But I don't play concert toms for the 70s stuff or anything, although to be totally authentic, I probably should on certain songs, you know. But I play a rather larger kit. I use 5 tom-toms, and I was using 2 snares, but down to 1 now.
48 years. Mm-hmm. Explain, if you've ever seen another band do this, how does the band just continue?
Man, I really, I think it's a couple of things probably. First of all, the songs themselves and the music itself are so strong and touch people so deeply, and so many people have memories and of these life moments in life that are just reflected in Chicago's music or associated with the band's music. And then I think also the guys in the band, they love, I mean, they've been doing it for 48 years now, I mean, almost 50 years. And, people laughingly say, how can Robert Land sing Saturday in the Park every night, for 48 years and not lose his mind, Well, I think that to a man in the band, everybody's always trying to improve on last night's performance. And as a player what that's like, you can always want to refine, just fine-tune it and make it a little bit better. So you're always in the chasing it, kind of,
Now, going back to the players, the 48 years, is there an area where Chicago hasn't gone where you envision it's going to go?
The band's covered so many different styles of music, and that's a really good question. I would hope that we could come up with something truly fresh and a reflection of who we are now, because the band has really grown, in a lot of ways. I mean, it can't help but do that. We have different members that have joined and those that have left over the years, and so inevitably we're different now, and there's a different dynamic. But as far as what that might be, I don't know stylistically, I'm so happy that we're still recording and still going after it, We had it was Chicago 36 come out last year, an album called Now, and there's some really good songs on that. And it was pretty cool because we learned that we could do it remotely, like on the road. We didn't all have to be in the same place, or do it all at once. Although I think there's something to be said for having a rhythm section record live and really take aim at, something and rehearse it and all of that. But that being said, there's some really great songs and great performances on the record. And in fact, one tune in particular, we toured Europe last summer. It was like in heavy rotation in England on BBC Two, which is the first time in a long time that's happened for the band. So anyway, it was one of the most played records of last year there. So.
Now, sitting behind the drum kit, what do you observe? Because there's so many hits. If you guys just played your hits, there's not enough time even to do that. What do you think is the song that the audiences always seem to react to by Chicago the best?
Oh man, there's a bunch of them, but certainly, does anybody really know what time it is? Always. Saturday in the Park, Just You and Me, You're the Inspiration, If You Leave Me Now, I mean, where do I stop? You know,
Okay,
it's like,
okay. Let me flip this over. Is there a sleeper that you didn't think that seems to be a fan favorite? Is there a sleeper in there?
That's a good question. Well, the band has the embarrassment, if you will, of too many hits, you know. And so every year we try to rotate some in and out, you know. It was great watching the response last year to one of the songs off our new album, a song called Now. That was really fun to see. But what I have experienced is when we try to bring in album cuts that musicians might, or hardcore fans might really want to hear, we usually get a walking ovation at that point, and that's where everybody goes to the bathroom or goes to get a beer or something, you know. So consequently, we kind of keep it tight with the hits, and not always the same hits. Like I say, we play almost a 3-hour show, 2 hours and 45 minutes or so when we're by ourselves, and man, we could do probably another hour and a half and not repeat anything that we did, and you'd know every song, you know, because the band's had that many hits. So I don't know how to quite answer that question. You know, it's like...
well, let me ask it to you this way. You yourself have had your share of hits, and let's talk about one of the most epic rock songs out there that you played on, Footloose. Footloose.
Yeah.
Tell us about that song. Did you know when that song was done, this is going to be a big one?
Man, this is a funny story, Ken, I'll tell you. I mean, it cracks me up to this day. We, the whole time before we recorded that tune, had been on the road with Kenny Loggins, and at sound checks, we'd be rehearsing this song, you know, and so we were all kind of tired of it, you know, to tell you the truth, and so we went in to record it, and I'll never forget, we were at the record plant in LA, and it took 2 takes, one for sound, and the second one, that was it. 2 takes. And so I remember walking out arm in arm with Nathan East, the great bass player who'd been in the band for a while then. And we both looked at each other and said, that's the last time we'll ever have to hear that piece of crap.
Oh my gosh.
And man, it went off the Richter, and it was #1 everywhere in the world at the same time.
Still very popular, yeah.
And I have to say that when I could turn the radio dial and it was on every channel at the same time, I started to kind of like it. In fact, I really liked it, you know.
Great experience.
And yeah, I went back and on the drum breakdown in the middle there, I overdubbed Simmons toms on that. But I didn't have Simmons when we cut the basic. I did it with acoustic toms, you know. So that's a combination of Simmons and acoustic toms.
Now, you yourself have played with so many different artists. You just played us the track a little while ago from Anita Baker. You play with Al Jarreau. How do you maintain all these various disciplines and different tunings and sounds and styles? How do you keep that in your mind? And I guess it kind of translates and makes you a great player for Chicago, because that's really what you do in Chicago.
Oh man, well, I've been really so blessed, Ken, in like having the opportunity to play with so many of my heroes and so many different styles, you know. As I don't really consider myself a true jazz player or straight ahead player in the true sense, because I think you have to live that and really do it every day to do it real well. Of course, tuning wise, you know, I tune my drums to be able to approximate a number of different styles and cover a lot of territory. You know, of course, I can't use an 18-inch bass drum, you know, or have that there, you know, as well, you know, if we're going to do something that is more straight-ahead jazz. But we don't really do that with Chicago anyway. But when I played with Al Jarreau, we would, you know, and we would break it down to a trio from 9 people and do all blues or something, you know. So anyway, I had my 22-inch bass drum, and I tune kind of higher live, you know, so that might be able to approximate the jazz thing. But at the same time, you know, I need to play ballads, you know, like Hard to Say I'm Sorry, Hard Habit to Break, or Forever with Kenny, that I did with Kenny Loggins or whatever. And so, you know, you need the birthday cake with a baseball bat sound sometimes too. So I kind of use, you know, I try to, you know, work with the sound man and find a tuning for the snare that'll work. And maybe he can trigger, you know, some gates or something, or a sample to kind of beef up the low end. Because I like to have kind of a tight snare drum just for response. You know, I mean, it feels better to play.
Great. Now listen, let's find out about Tris Imboden. Let's go behind the curtain.
Okay.
If you weren't a drummer, what instrument would you love to play?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, you know, I do play. I'm a pretty good blues harp player. I love the blues, man, and I used to play a lot of blues harp. In fact, I played on Chicago record and a couple of Chicago records, and also on Kenny Loggins records and that. But I've always loved the bass. Really loved the bass, and just, you know, what that can do to a tune, or where it hits you, you know, and how it hits you. I love the bass. I kind of play at the guitar, although I'm not really a guitarist, so probably the bass.
Favorite Chicago song to play?
Oh, man. Well, certainly Only the Beginning is like one of my all-time favorites. But I have to say, too, that I love Just You and Me. And I mean, I love this song so much. But there's also this open section where night to night we don't know what's going to happen. It's like totally improvisational, you know? And it's like jazz for a minute, you know? And so I love that, too.
Favorite arena or venue to play at?
Oh, man. Excuse me for a second. I was getting parched.
Oh, that's okay. This is a lot.
Yeah. You know, actually, one of my favorite places to play, we just recorded a live concert at this past summer with REO Speedwagon and us together. And we actually did a little bit of the show together, so hopefully that's going to be out on a DVD. And that place is Red Rocks in Colorado.
Oh, yes. I think you two made that very popular.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I've been playing there since the 70s, when I was first there with Loggins years ago. And it's that natural amphitheater formed by these incredible red rocks. I mean, it looks like almost man-made or something, you know. But it's all natural, you know. And it's a great place to play.
You look like you're having fun. You look great.
Thank you. Well, man, I do. I really do still enjoy playing the drums and communicating mostly, you know, with people, and watching the reaction, and what music always does and always has done and always will do. It touches those recesses in people that words can't get to, you know, and I don't know. Just to be able to be a part of that and making that happen, man, I'm a lucky guy.
Tris, for you, for your career, is there any area you want to go into that you haven't explored yet?
Yeah, I have a great love of Latin music. In fact, I went to Cuba actually in '95, and I was just dumbfounded by the level of musicianship and the degree of artistry. I mean, it was just incredible. I'd like to get back into playing and learning more about Latin music, and I mean all the different forms, and to really play it well. I'd really love to do that. I haven't done it that much in recent times, and there was a time when I had the opportunity, and I was really doing more of it.
Well, guys, you know what? It's Tris Imboden. What can I say? We go back to Footloose all the way through Chicago, celebrating 25 years. Congratulations. What a great accomplishment. The band is fantastic with you in it. And it really is just, if you can get a chance to see this gentleman play on the road, believe me, he alone is worth the price of admission.
You too.
So, anyways, for Beato's blog, it's K-Bo. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.